You know, you're constantly worried about the city coming after you. Can you live on your property in an RV? Is it legal? How do you do it? What should you look out for? This is the video for you if this is something that you're considering, maybe homesteading, maybe you want to save some money within the next couple of years as you build your dream home. Welcome back to the Beast Den. A little bit of background story. I have a whole buying our own land series where I talk about how we unconventionally purchased our land here in Florida in a high market, how to do it without the banks and without the nonsense, and kind of really on your terms. So that entire playlist is down below. You can check that out. So let's go ahead and get started. Purchasing your RV. Let's start there. When you are purchasing your RV, we actually lived in our Class A for 3 years before getting what we thought was a rent to own, and that didn't work out that way. But we lived in a Class A, which is pretty much just a motorhome. It was a drivable RV for 3 years as a family of 5 with a dog. We bought it under necessity. We didn't have any place to live at the time. We had invested all of our money into our business and we literally were houseless. And we decided to go the RV route, which we very much had manifested, my 4-year-old at the time and I. We loved it. We loved RV life. We loved the simplicity it offered us and all of that. Now, this time around, because we lived in an RV for 3 years, we knew that we had to kind of work backwards. I started taking note of the way that we ran our daily life. Like, what are things that were non-negotiable for us? What were things that would make our life in an RV so much easier? We have 4 kids, we have 4 dogs. The last time our Class A was literally just like, imagine a hallway, and that it was the entire space. Versus we knew we wanted something with slide outs. We had to have a big kitchen, a residential fridge. We needed 2 bathrooms. So we decided to go with a 43-foot toy hauler. It is a Keystone Voltage, I believe it is. We spent 6 to 8 months looking for this toy hauler. It was very difficult to find. After, you know, the pandemic, RV life, van life became really popular, and we've seen a little bit of a decline in full-timers. So right now is a really good time to buy your RV. You pretty much just have to be diligent. You have to have a budget in mind. Stick to that. If you know what's for you, the right one will appear. I was blessed enough that when I was in Europe, Edward actually came across this RV. He and his brother Chris traveled 3 hours away. Chris also lived in an RV. So they knew exactly what to look out for. Things like water damage. Obviously, if you're buying used, there's going to be some wear and tear. So there were things that we were just really looking out for, making sure the piping was okay, making sure the roof had been maintenance, things like that. The biggest one is water damage. You really want to make sure that your unit is in pretty good condition, because once you have water damage, your option really is to strip everything and redo it. Like, you literally would have to put plywood on it and, you know, that whole remove it, put plywood on it, and it's a whole process. It's not enjoyable at all, and you need to get that taken care of because mold causes health issues, right? They went through that whole process. It was right within our budget, exactly the length that we wanted it. We knew we needed a 43-footer because we're a family of technically 10 with our dogs. Now the next question was, where are we gonna put it? Right? We purchased 2.5 acres of land, a little over 2.5 acres. Everyone's first mentality was, well, great, you can live on your property for basically free. You're already paying a mortgage. Not exactly. This is really going to depend on not your state. Really important that you hear me here. It is not the state that determines whether or not you can live on your property in your RV. It's actually your city or county, depending on where you reside. You need to call zoning, and that's what I did. I one day just had this epiphany of like, wait a minute, is this even legal? Before, we had lived on private property, but there was a structure in place there. So we pretty much just rented a plot of land from this person that already had a house on there. This time, our land is dirty land. I called. I'm within county limits, which usually is more lenient, but in my case, not exactly. If your particular city or county allows it, what you're typically going to need is sewage, water, and electricity. At this point, what we're trying to do is get what's called a variance or an exception. If we have those things, which we need them anyway for our barn dough build, then can we live on our property for up to a year while that house is being built? So that's kind of the route that we are taking. In the meantime, it has been a little bit of a challenge to find a place to live. Let me just recap for you real quick. Can you live on your land, your private property, with an RV? It depends on your city or county. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't, and sometimes if you can, it's only for a limited amount of time. Like I said, we're looking for an exception for up to a year while we self-finance our home build. Other counties and other places may allow you to live there as long as you want. There's places out in the West Coast that allow that. Here on the East Coast, the rules are a little bit stricter. Speaking of rules, finding a RV resort, RV park, RV location to stay at has been a struggle. Not so much because we have 4 kids, and that's a whole other video that I'll be making about that. Let me know what questions you have down below. But because we have 4 dogs. So we have a white German Shepherd, an American Bully, and 2 miniature Frenchies. Most RV parks now are capping it at 2 dogs. One particular RV spot that we love, in their list it says you can't have German Shepherds. Wild. If you've seen any of my other videos, you've seen that my white German Shepherd is a doll. That's been a little bit frustrating, finding a place that will accept our pets. We are having to take a different route when it comes to our pets. We actually got them bark deterrents, which just prevents them from barking all of the time. I will link the one that I have down below, but that has been a huge help. So my German Shepherd, she does kind of suffer from anxiety, separation anxiety. So anytime that we would open the door, anytime that she would hear our voices, she would just go crazy in her crate, barking all night long, all afternoon long, if you know people were like walking through. So this barking deterrent has literally day 1 it worked, and I have it for 2 out of 4 of my dogs, and it's been great because people don't even know that we have 4 dogs. We're super clean when it comes to our dogs. Take them to the dog park every single day. I try and play with my German Shepherd. She loves Frisbee at least, 20-30 minutes. It's really hot here in Florida right now, so I just try and wear her out so that the rest of the night she kind of just sleeps and chill. More and more these RV parks have property managements that are cracking down, and if those of us that have multiple pets can just bind together and just make sure that we're doing our due diligence when it comes to our pet, then I think we should be fine. But that has been the biggest issue that we have had. Our American Bully is, out of all of them, like the sweetest, but he looks mean, and even though he's not, people still are, just looking at him are afraid. So we're still navigating that. Boondocking is definitely something that we've done. We did it for 2 weeks, so it was interesting just because, water and propane and gas and all that. You got to make sure that you understand the financial aspect of this as well, right? So every 2 to 3 days, especially since we're running the AC all day with our dog, we're having to fill up gas. Boondocking is definitely an option on your property. You just can only do that up to 2 weeks at a time, at least here in Florida. Again, check your zoning, county, city and county laws. If you have any other questions when it comes to living in an RV with pets or living on your property, please let me know. All right, so here's the last thing I want to talk about is your neighbors. We live in a really rural area, like we are boonies. Like there's no streetlights where we're at. So for us, could we technically get away with it? Yeah, but then at that point, because I know somebody out there is gonna say it, like, well, you could just live there and who has to know? Well, it depends on what foot you get on with your neighbors, because if one of your neighbors doesn't like you, like is our case, he will for sure say something. Now, if you have neighbors that you get along with, then maybe you can get away with it. I am not encouraging you to do anything that's, against the law, but for those of you that's exactly where your mind goes to, I just want to tell you that you don't want to live with that in the back of your mind. Like anytime that your dog makes noise, or anytime that, you guys want to have a birthday party or just hang out, you don't want to be worried about, man, am I going to get fined? Am I going to get kicked off my property? Like, is something going to happen? That worry isn't worth your peace. RV life is supposed to be an effort to a slower lifestyle, a more simplistic lifestyle, and sometimes that could be difficult if, you're constantly worried about the city coming after you. So I hope this video was helpful. If you guys have any questions, please, let me know down below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel as more of these home built videos are coming. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Sweet night, Frisbees fam.
How could you be so uncomfortable?